Our next item for consideration is H.R. 9596, the Value Over Cost Act. The clerk will please designate the bill.
H.R. 9596, the Value Over Cost Act, a bill to amend Title 41 and Title 10 to provide best value through the Multiple Award Schedule program and for other purposes.
Without objection, the bill should be considered as read and open for amendment at any point. Without objection, so ordered. The chair recognizes himself to offer an amendment in the nature of substitute. The clerk please designate the amendment.
An amendment in the nature of a substitute to H.R. 9596 is offered by Mr. Comer of Kentucky.
Without objection, the amendment is considered as read, and the substitute will be considered as original text for the purposes of further amendment. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes for a statement on the bill and the amendment. I support the Value Over Cost Act, which modernizes the General Services Administration's government-wide multiple award schedule program. GSA's multiple award schedule program is the federal government's most used contracting procedure for commercial products and services. Federal agencies rely on the multiple award schedule to purchase the best commercial products, services, and solutions at the best price. Currently, GSA is required to evaluate the lowest overall cost alternative, which when determining what will be available on the multiple award schedule. This requires a burdensome process which can actually lead to higher prices as contractors pass administrative costs along to the federal government. Sometimes the lowest overall cost alternative process leads to some contractors not wanting to do business with the government at all. This bill allows GSA to consider awarding contracts based on best value in addition to lowest overall cost alternative. By allowing GSA to choose to award contracts based on best value, this bill puts the multiple award schedule program on a level playing field with other acquisition procedures. This choice maximizes the federal government's ability to procure modern technology and helps empower the small business community. I want to thank Representative Donalds for his leadership on this issue and urge my colleagues to support this targeted government efficiency bill. I now yield to Ranking Member Raskin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The GSA keeps a list of goods and services available to federal agencies from multiple GSA-selected vendors at different prices. This schedule is known as the Federal Supply Schedule. Agencies may order commercial goods and services listed in the schedule in different quantities at the prices stated on the schedule. This provides a simplified process for agencies to get goods and services while also obtaining volume discounts. Current law is ambiguous about whether the contracts and orders under the schedule program must be the lowest price or the best value. Best value contracts consider price, but also things like the quality of a product or the expertise of the service provider. The bill would clarify that both the lowest price and the best value are acceptable outcomes for contracts under the schedule program. Thank Congressman Donalds and Congressman Connolly for their work on the legislation, and yield back.
Chair now recognizes the sponsor of the bill, Mr. Donalds from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also the ranking member for their support of the Values Over Costs Act. I also want to thank my colleague on the Democrat side of the aisle, Mr. Connolly, for working on this measure. This is a simple, much-needed, common-sense piece of legislation. Overall, my bill seeks to modernize the federal procurement process by providing GSA with additional contracting flexibility, specifically by allowing for the consideration of best value in addition to the lowest overall cost alternative. Instead of just looking at the initial price tag, the federal government should be fiscally responsible and also consider the contractual value of products and services over time if it's in the best interest of the federal government. My bill provides this necessary flexibility to do just that. This is a measure that I'm glad that we're moving in this committee. My hope is that we obviously get it out of the House and that the Senate agrees with us, and then we could put these common sense pieces of reform to the federal process in place. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Do any other members seek recognition? Chair recognizes Mr. Moscowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank my colleague from Florida for bringing this bill. I've always considered Representative Donalds from Florida a deep thinker, and the length of the bill took me days to read. But in all seriousness, this bill is actually excellent policy. As someone who awarded billions of dollars of goods and services as the former director of emergency management in the state of Florida, I can tell you, doing it only as a lowest price, in the industry it's called bid it to win it, where companies come out and just put a low bid on something to win it. That then leads to change orders, which then drives up the long-term cost. So what's interesting is that for the longest time, having this idea that we're awarding it to the lowest bidder means we're actually, saving the federal government money doesn't necessarily wind up being true. Best value, which takes into account experience and qualifications, and price, allows the government to get the best deal with the best vendor. And so, to me, this is something that states are doing. All states are doing. In fact, there's not a single state right now that awards contracts only on lowest price. They all consider best value. So do cities, so do counties. And so this is definitely keeping up with the times, and I want to thank my colleague from Florida for bringing this bill.
Do any other members seek recognition? Seeing none, the question is now on the amendment in the nature of a substitute. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and the amendment is agreed to. The question is now unfavorably reporting H.R. 9596 as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed. For what purpose does the gentleman from South Carolina seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I request a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is ordered as previously announced. Further proceedings on the question will be postponed. Which one? Let's see. Where are we going now? Our next item for consideration is H.R. 9594. Now, we've already done that. Our next item for consideration is H.R. 5536,